Everyone, let's call this meeting to order. Tuesday, August. So to begin with, call to order, let's record the members who are present. We have everyone with the exception of Dr. Emerson here. And then pledge of allegiance. Stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Discussion and vote to approve the minutes from the previous meeting of July 23rd, regular meeting. Any discussion?
I'll abstain since I wasn't here.
And I. Item D, Deputy Treasurer Report and discussion, vote to approve the monthly financial reports.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The bank balance as of July 31st was $12,259,731.54. General fund balance, let's go to the receipts, sorry. Receipts for the month of July, $1,367,300.43 for the general fund. $2,657.57 for building fund. Nothing in co-op, nothing in bond, and $12,181.09 in sinking fund. That brings the general fund to $6,544,773.14. Building fund to $4,781,022.95. Co-op fund, $3,379.49. Bond fund, $762,578. Seeking fund, $167,977.96. I will tell you that after this month, you'll no longer see that co-op fund on any more of the reports, and that's because we're doing away with the co-op fund. We were only paying a few people out of that fund, and we don't get a lot of payments there, so we're just gonna move that to general fund. Because we have to, every single year, June, you guys will see where we transfer that money from general fund to the co-op to cover that, so instead of doing that every single year, we're just gonna move those people into general fund and they'll be cleaner. Activity fund for the end of July was $1,021,982.99. Go to our utilities. Our utilities are still running really well. So for the month of, from last July to this July, electric was $12,077 less. Gas was $39 less. And the water was $2,270 less. So that was good.
And the balance was the carryover?
No, carryover was on last month. Yes, but it's at 6 million.
That's good.
Yep.
You bumped that up.
You did very well.
For heaven. So, that is excellent. Not easy to do.
No.
I've tried to save $1 million and
Remember, if everyone gets excited in the room, that was purposeful because we knew that we have over $1 million that would come into general fund from COVID money that goes away this year, so.
questions on this? Yes, okay. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Any more discussion? Aye. Dr. Coffin? Aye. Ms. Crawford? Aye, and aye. E, we have a presentation by ESP, which is the Energy Solutions Professionals. They are presenting phase 2 of EPC, Energy Performance Contracts with TPS.
Hello. Where do you want me to stand?
Stay.
Right here, okay? All right. Thank you for the opportunity to be here again. I hope you guys had copies of this, so maybe you've read it. Just very briefly, this is kind of the next step from the lighting project that we implemented, and this is going to encompass a more comprehensive set of improvements in your facilities. So go ahead to the agenda. My father was a pastor. He said, tell people what you're going to tell them, and then remind them what you said. So that's going to be kind of the plan for tonight. But I want to talk with you just briefly.
I want to ask you, I didn't ask it to you because I don't have your name down. Can you give us your name?
I am very sorry. Yes, I'm Jeff Flappman, and I'm the president of Energy Solutions Professionals. That's the energy service company that you guys engaged to do an investment grade audit analysis of your facilities and to develop a potential energy savings facility improvement project. And so tonight, that's what we're going to talk about is the findings of that investment grade audit that we did. First, I want to just remind you a little bit about what energy performance contracting is, and then give you a very high-side summary of the results of the lighting project that we did implement, and then talk about what we found out with this investment grade audit and what the next step might be for moving forward. So just briefly, what is energy performance contracting? Well, the state of Oklahoma has enabling legislation that allows public entities, especially schools specifically, to utilize this tool for procurement that says if you go and you hire a company that's willing to guarantee the savings, then you can implement projects without having to go and ask the public for bond, because what you're doing is you're going to redirect money that currently is going to the utility company, and you're going to use those funds to pay for the improvements that you implemented in the facilities through this tool that's called energy performance contracting. So that's a very high side. But in essence, from our chair, what we're trying to provide for you is a guaranteed cost and a guaranteed savings. So it's a very low cost way to get improvements within your facilities. And they say that a picture says 1,000 words, and so that's why we have this little graphic, just to remind you that before we start, we analyze what your utilities are and how much you're spending in electric, gas, water, and then we say, okay, we can do things, water conservation, lighting, put in new heating and air conditioning, add controls that allow you to optimize the efficiency of the equipment. And those things cost money, but they generate a savings that reduces the amount of money that you send to your utility company, and then that money is what's used to pay for the improvements over time. Okay, so that, at a very high side, that is the tool of energy performance contracting, and it is a means of procuring improvements by allowing you to be better stewards of your resources and invest the money back into your students instead of investing it in the utility company. Does that make sense? And you guys kind of remember that? We talked about that the first go around. But, so about 10 months ago, I guess, we started the lighting project. And we implemented in all of your schools, we converted all of the lighting from fluorescent to LED, both interior and exterior lighting. And as part of that program, we got to measure what the wattage before we did the project and after we did the project. And we've gone through that measurement verification process. And we had said we thought we would save you about $127,000 a year. Based on our measurements, you should be saving about $134,000. So you're actually saving more than what we thought, okay? And part of why there's that excess savings is, do you guys remember that you agreed to spend a little bit more money on the dimming in the classrooms? Well, it turns out that your teachers love it. And so, you guys like, I'm seeing some head nodding, great, that's what we hope. And what's happening is that they're actually dimming the lights a little more than what we expected, and that's a great thing. It's allows to set the mood within the classroom, and you know, as much as an energy service provider, we want to think it's all about energy, but really we know it's about education. And so whatever we can do to improve the learning environment and make it a better opportunity for kids to learn, that's an added bonus to what we do, right? So I don't know if people, the environmental impact is legitimate, it's real. You know, the amount of energy that you're saving that we've reduced is about the equivalent of how much energy is consumed by 170 homes. And so that's a pretty material amount of savings, and so that's a benefit that goes above and beyond the money and the students, but also just the environment itself is benefiting from what we did. For us to do our job, and be able to guarantee the savings, we really have to be able to understand, where are you spending your money? What are your utility costs? And are they what we would expect, or are there anomalies that we feel like, oh, we know we have to go and capture that? So we did a very detailed analysis of your utilities. We found out where your money is being spent. We logged some equipment and identified, took power readings to say, okay, we know this is how much energy is in the fans, this is how much is in your heating and air conditioning systems and so forth. And then that guided us to what we should do in terms of what systems should be modified to capture the most savings, okay? So that was a fundamental part of what we had to do, and that's really the foundation of us being able to say we know we can save. So we could go into, I could talk for hours just about the utilities, but if that's enough for you guys, that's enough for me. So the opportunity, obviously the interior and exterior lighting we already did, so we knew that was an opportunity, and the good news is it worked really well, and you're saving more than what we expected. We looked at a variety of heating and ventilation opportunities at all of your schools. We looked at improving the outside air, the amount of outside air that you bring in to make sure that you have a good, healthy learning environment while not bringing in so much that you're wasting energy. We looked at building envelope things, so if you have doors and windows, and even where buildings come together, sometimes there's cracks, you know, and so to fill those and make sure. So just a wide variety of things that we looked at. And I think the next slide, that'll give you a little bit, you know, kind of the whole purpose of that is just to share with you that we didn't just look at a few things and say, okay, cherry pick, these are the things we want to look at. We actually, with your team, and especially with Brad's help, we have crawled all over your buildings, we've gotten to know them pretty well, and we've come to understand, you know, where there's opportunities and where there's needs, and we evaluated all these things. But ultimately, it came down to providing a project that Tanya said, financially, I'm willing to agree that that makes sense for my students, for our district, that this is where we want to go. So even though we looked at all of these things, and you know what, my eyes are terrible. Can you tell me what the number at the top of that table is? It's a big one. The one second from the right.
Second from the right. 6.755. 6,755,000.
So 6.8 million almost, right? Of stuff that we looked at, and that we about $6.8 million worth of improvements that we evaluated and analyzed for you. Candidly, that's why it's been a few weeks or days or months since we talked with you last, right, is it took some time and some energy to figure all that out. And our objective is, we knew that you would not implement all of these things. We knew and understood that. But what we hope is that you can now use this as a roadmap that says, oh, here's where we need more improvements. And so we'll do some of it, you know, the stuff that makes a good financial sense to do today, we'll do now, and then you guys would have the rest of the stuff to use as a roadmap where to go. A couple things, as part of our process through this, we submitted for Rebuild America School grant for you guys. The first go round, we were actually encouraged to submit and go the next step. This round, we went ahead and submitted again, and we made a consortium of about 20 schools that included schools from Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma. We felt really good, and I had talked with the person at the Department of Energy that he said, yeah, that's a powerful submission. We weren't one of the ones that were selected, unfortunately. What I can tell you, it sort of makes me sad, frustrated, whatever you want to, whatever the right word is. Most of the awardees, there were 23 awardees, and most of them were big districts, right? They were urban area districts. That was kind of disappointing because it said that the primary focus was going to be for rural disadvantaged districts and for Indian, grounds, and so we were disappointed that we didn't get there. But to put in perspective for you, there were 23 awardees. There were over 5,000 applications. So there's a lot of people trying to get their piece of that pie, right? So unfortunately, some of the things we looked at were intended to maybe get rolled into that grant program. But okay, I'm sorry. Am I taking too long, or are we doing okay? You want me to speed up? I did. I'm slow, but I'm not that slow. So the next one is the list of stuff that actually got selected and is included in what we're recommending and what the administration between Brad and Tanya and the whole team decided this would be the right project to move forward. Okay, and so that's about a $1.7 million total project. But what I need you to understand is that includes the roughly $800,000 that was for the lighting project. We wanted to give you the overall, so it's really an additional about $900,000 is what the more comprehensive project is. From a cash flow perspective, the reason we needed to keep it bundled together is the lighting project, you financed that for 10 years. Well, we're only, not quite 9 months into that. So you still have to pay for the lighting off, even though we're doing the next phase. So the local bank, which took me a bit to understand, local bank is actually the name of the bank. They have agreed to honor the fact that they had said that their first loan would be a master lease that we could add to. And so the plan is to go ahead and add this to that. They have agreed to hold the rate that they offered a year ago, which is pretty good. It was 4.5 roughly, 4.49. That's where we're at, I think.
So I wanted him to come and talk to you guys and show you that he stood in front of you 10 months ago and said, we're promising, we're guaranteeing that this is what's gonna happen with the lighting project, and he has exceeded his promise. So I think it was important for you to see that, and we also, we've let months go by in between just to make sure that that's continued to be a savings every month. I've been extremely cautious. In fact, I had him in the office an hour ago and hammered him like a true attorney. You'd have been proud of me. Asking all kinds of questions, just to make sure that we are bringing the best projects back to the table. you said you had a question.
Yeah, just, so we got this where we could read it in our actual packets, we can't read this, and we can't, none of
Can't
us
see
can
that
read what's
very
up
well.
there.
I get
Could
it.
you quickly go through what the next step, the water conservation, the doors and windows, I saw it somewhere, but not, just kind of those big groups of what, cause the last was all lighting, so
Yeah.
this is thermostat control, but you tell us, cause I don't
Okay.
remember all of them.
So it is a much more comprehensive bundling of energy saving opportunities. If you go back like 3, that's maybe 2 more. There. This gives you sort of the high side grouping. Certainly after the lighting, the next best is some modifications to the control system, which you have an energy management system in place. But we're going to do some adjustments to that optimize the impact that energy management system has in your buildings. Is that a fair way of saying it, Brad? Yeah. Okay, so controls associated with your heating and air conditioning systems.
So is that more like of a tech update where these are the online thermostats?
Actually, the hardware is going to remain largely the same. We're adding some sensors and we're adding some programming to allow you to take more advantage of the brains that you have. Is that fair? Yep. And so, and in addition, what we have found is that there are some places where that you actually already have the technology there, but they didn't finish the step. And it wasn't part of their scope to do it, but we found that, well, gosh, you have the ability to do this and you're just not doing it. And so it's a fairly low cost, but captures good savings, okay? The building envelope I kind of described, that's windows and doors and walls sealed, just weatherization of your buildings. Water conservation, it's not very sexy, but it is what it is, right? If you flush a toilet and it puts 5 gallons per flush down, we're gonna convert it to 1.6 gallons per flush, okay? So, and there's toilets, urinals, if you turn a faucet on, you need to have an aerator in it, and so those are the things that the water conservation is about. The complex things are the 2 units at TMAC, you're throwing compressors very regularly, right? So we dove into that and we looked at it pretty carefully, and we have secured bids from contractors, and we're actually gonna tweak their design a little bit, but the objective is to eliminate those compressor failures and convert from a constant volume system to a variable volume. So, I mean, how many times do you go in there during the week and it's a full crowd and you've got very, very rarely, right? So the system, the way it was designed, couldn't back off. It had to run at full all the time. Well, that led to operational problems and of course it wastes a bunch of energy. So we're going to optimize those systems. There are some other systems, you've got some constant volume multi-zones that we're gonna replace and put in your volume system. And what that means is you can put the appropriate amount of heating and air conditioning into the space based on the amount of load that's there. So not only are you saving energy, but you're also vastly improving the comfort within the space, okay? The mechanical yard remodel, that's Heritage. Engineers have a little bit of a thing with architects, right? They design the pretty building and the engineers have to try to make the pretty building work, right? If you can imagine your home unit, your unit at your house has a little unit outside and then it's got the furnace inside. Well, the architect decided to put like 20 of those condensing units that normally go outside. He didn't want the building to look ugly. So he put them all inside of a room. How are you gonna reject heat out of a room that, so it's having some trouble, it's just not a great design. So we're gonna look at that, do some smoke testing, try to make some modifications to a lot of those systems. They're not necessarily blowing up, but they're tripping on high head, and that's gonna shorten the life of the equipment. So we're doing some things to try to make your systems more efficient and have a better long life.
trying not to say.
What about, are we talking about a new HVAC system for the TMAC?
Yes,
Is that included in this
it is,
price?
it is, yes.
Which the system for the TMAC would
There's,
run what, how much?
yeah, that's a material chunk of this, it's
Yes.
about 480,000
Okay,
plus or minus. That's what it is right now, candidly, we're hoping to get a better price, and the way that, part of the hammering that we just went through is, we're a very transparent company, and we do that intentionally, and so if that price comes down, we're gonna tell you what it is, and then our hope is maybe we do a good enough job for you that if we save you some money here, maybe you wanna spend that money with us over there, right? That's what our hope is, but yeah, so that's 2 large units that are serving that building, and we're gonna replace both.
A follow-up question based on that, because what we vote on is to approve this to do the project and extend financing. So if we approve this and you guys do come back and it's $10,000 cheaper, $20,000, whatever it is, you all can then just decide, within this original scope of money we approved, to do additional things on the list.
Yes.
Does that,
Yeah, and so,
without further.
Brad can speak to this, the way that we handle it is, we keep a running, we call it a change log. We guarantee you that there will not be a change order that's initiated by us, unless you tell us a scope change, right? But if we find ways to do it less expensively, then we provide you in that change log, we say, well, we saved 10,000 here, we saved 2,000 here, and it's a running log. And then so candidly, sometimes what happens with our clients, you notice that there's that long list of stuff, and we're only doing this much, maybe you go and you capture one of the replacement of the unit in another building, or you know, things like that. So, that's the way we typically try to work with folks. But if we identify savings and we get to the end and you decide you don't really wanna do any more work, then we just subtract that and you know, that's a deduct from our contract.
And the lease with local bank, the large, like we just talked about, the large expense of that, the $480,000 or hopefully less for the TMAC unit, we're going to use building fund money for, we're not gonna finance it.
okay. So that is or is not included in the, what would be 9? Because we had the original 8,
900,
the total is 1.7, so that 900 is the addition. That does or does not include the,
So on the sample cash flow that we gave you, you notice that I put in green,
okay.
the amount of extra finance is about 400, it's close to $500,000, okay? And so I tried to identify for you that the capital contribution of 485 that you guys are making, that reduces then what the debt service amount is, so you're saving that amount of debt service. You know, you're not paying the interest on that because you're paying capital. And we've quantified it, and then we've also identified that amount in green, and that'll fluctuate a little bit. We have to square that up with what the bond cost is. It's a couple little things that will change those numbers a little bit, but purpose is to give you at least a concept of what we're doing.
So the 1,200,000, what's that, 39,917. That includes the HVAC system. I mean, that includes the
Yeah,
amount of
so
the cost, even though we're gonna pay it separately. We're not
So-
taking,
actually I need you're close, but go up from that like 3 numbers and you see the 1.7 million total. That's the top number of 1,700,000, I think it's actually like 70 or something anyhow. It says 1,750,000 in there, but we forgot to include the cost of the bond in that, so it would go up a little bit. But that's the total project cost, and then you subtract the 485 that you're contributing, and so that means that the new financed amount is 1.2 million. But the total project cost, I don't wanna kid you, just because you're paying the 480, that doesn't, you're paying that to us, we're gonna charge you to install the units, right?
Oh,
So,
okay,
does that make sense?
yes, it does.
Okay.
Just wanted to understand exactly where the money is. And then the savings that we have from this, we, in our general fund, we're free to,
We make the payment and
and
then
then,
at some point we'll pay, but we want to pay it off sooner than it's supposed to be. So if we have, is it like, right now it was $80,000 this year, about $80,000. But if we save 130, we could put all of that savings towards that, pay it off faster if we didn't need the extra money in general fund for something else. But like when we talked about where we have more general fund expenses this year, if we ever got to a point financially where we needed the savings to pay for a teacher, we could. And if we didn't, then we could pay more at a time on a loan.
So just to inject, to help you with the tool that we provided you, this cash flow, the very far column is the accumulated positive, excess savings. We expect you to make $70-some thousand of positive excess savings from this phase 2 of the energy performance contract. And so that excess money
for a year or for
annually,
annual.
yeah. And so by the time you get down to the bottom, it's whatever, once the debt service is gone, then obviously that amount jumps up to, 200,000. But that is your money. We don't share it, it's your money. So, hopefully as you track the project and you take savings by that amount, that you've got that money to play with.
Are we getting to the point where we can vote on this? Do you have anyone have any other questions?
It's just one reminder, that it all comes with a guarantee. I mean, there's a guarantee in writing that we will have a specific amount of savings. And so that really is it's the safety net for us in the entire project.
It's for you in mind, yes. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Josh, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you
I'm
for
sorry.
the savings.
I ran a little over, sorry.
Okay, item F, discussion and vote to approve each of the following ESP items. And it's 1 phase 2 and then 2 grant and board for the superintendent to sign for this review. We've had pretty much discussion over this, but do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second, any other discussion? Ms. Nemo? Aye. Dr. Hoffman? Aye. Ms. Crawford? Aye. And aye. Okay, G is principal director's report.
Well, the elementary schools would like to ask for $1.5 million. Feel like I'm already getting moved tonight, so we're not going to shoot for it.
That's not on the agenda.
We'll vote on that later. So, we're gonna talk about the Telequa Elementary academic achievement. I'm gonna go through like the overall, our district scores, and then we're gonna bring up each building principal, and they're gonna kind of talk about their scores a little bit, and the PowerPoint that you have and that's up on the screen, and kind of just tell just a few little bit about their school and their academic achievement. So first, let me start off by just saying, as you see this PowerPoint, know that I did not create it. This is what I gave Jessica Morrison, and this is what she came up with. So I can't take credit for that. So anyway, academic achievement is one of our Telequa Public Schools goals. And Superintendent Jones has led a change in the way we do things this past school year and summer. She has put academic achievement at the top of every conversation when we discuss what we can do to make our schools better. She has been an advocate for achievement, and the administration, staff, and students at each of our elementary sites have worked very hard to ensure student learning is taking place every day. I hope tonight you see academic achievement that you can be proud of from our elementary schools. The results we are going to see from our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students at 3 of our elementary buildings. But these results start at our pre-K. And Misty Blunt and her staff at Sequoia, there's Misty right there. At her staff at Sequoia, they get our students started for their great academic achievement. I went and I met with Misty and her staff during our back to school days and just reiterated how important that they are to our academic achievement. They make the first impression of every parent and every student that they have at Tahlequah Public Schools. And if you want to see, I'm probably not going back until October 1st, to be honest. But no, they go and they get them and they start teaching and learning on day 1, and they do an absolutely fantastic job. This goes out for our kindergarten, our 1st, our 2nd grade teachers, and our specials teachers. They are all part of this academic achievement. You know, so many times it's like our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade teachers get nervous when it's testing time. I want everyone to be excited when they do this, and when we celebrate scores they get, whether they're good or bad, it's from everyone. So I just want everyone to know I've met with all the kindergarten teachers, and I hope to get to see all the 1st and 2nd grade teachers just to tell them how important they are on these results that we're going to see tonight. So the PowerPoint that we're going to see has a few mistakes in it because our scores got a little better. I have to tell one quick story. It was a late Friday evening in July when we got an email that the scores were in. So it had been a kind of little rough evening, and we had got done talking at 5 o'clock, and I told Tanya, and of course there's no one that's ready to go home than me, and I said, achievement scores are in. She goes, well, let's go. So we get in this exact paper, and she goes through there and she goes, okay, what was the total of this? We started out with Cherokee, and I said, I don't know. And I said, I can't even, my hands are shaking, I can't even write. And she goes, what are you doing? She goes, I'm looking at the results, I'm giving you the numbers, and I'm calculating. I said, I don't know, I'm just scared. And so anyway, we figured it out and we came up with this. So first thing you'll see from 2023 to 24, our overall district ELA grew from 20% to 50%. And these are scores of our students that met with either a proficient or advanced score in this area. And we'll go quick here. 3rd grade math from a 36% to 41%. So a little bit higher than your PowerPoint, which makes me even more excited. And the 4th grade ELA, 21% to 50%. Our 4th grade math went from a 44% in 2023 to a 52% in 2024. 5th grade ELA, a 27 to 43%. And then our 5th grade math went district-wide from a 30 to 45%. We have so many things that we can credit this rise in our achievement to. I mean, the district has tried to give every teacher everything that they need to be successful in the classroom, whether it be new reading curriculum, whether we bring people in to talk about writing, whether we buy writing materials for some of our teachers in the 5th grade, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade to do. I mean, I think we're seeing some results of the hard work that these teachers here and throughout the district have really put in to grow the achievement here at Tahlequah Public Schools. There we were comparing just the grade. On the next slide, you can kind of see, oh, I forgot about our science. I'm so sorry, that went from 38% to 40%. And then our district streamline, we kind of wanted to do this, so it looks over to the right, the graduation year of 2023, that would be the black dot, and that's when they're in 3rd grade, so they're 4th graders now, so that's where they started. The gray would be the students that's going to graduate in 2032, so they're 5th graders now, so you can see where they scored in ELA from 3rd grade and where they went to 4th grade. And then our 2031 graduates, which is now our sixth graders, you can see where they scored in third grade. They went down in fourth grade, but they made some magnificent gains in fifth grade. And we hope that as they go on through sixth through 12th grade, that those black, gray, and orange lines keep growing to the sky, wherever they want to go. So math trends start out there with our black dot for the third grade. Fourth grade went up, and then our sixth graders now, they from third to fourth and kept inching a little bit higher in fifth grade, and we hope that they continue to go higher in their next years. Okay, so does anyone have any questions about our overall district gains? And then I'm gonna bring the principals up here and let them give their report for each of their schools. And I do wanna recognize, they won't say we do have all the principals here and the assistant principals, because both of each pair in each of their buildings, Misty's alone, but poor thing, but each of these work well together. They all believe in academic achievement in their buildings, and they are definitely helping their teachers and their students achieve these results. So we'll start out with yes.
Go ahead. I wanted to ask, I missed at the beginning on some of the changes.
Yes.
On third grade, ELA was 20 and we have went up to 49%.
Yes.
Is it higher than that? Some of
No, this right here is higher. The thing that you have are the old numbers.
Yes.
The showing here is the correct number.
Okay. I
Yes.
missed.
Believe me, we changed those. Yes,
Will we have
Unofficial
that?
numbers to official numbers.
yes, very good.
Will we have that
Yep, I'll give it to you.
PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yep.
We just didn't wanna give it ahead of time, because we didn't want you to sneak and look at it. We
Yeah.
wanted you to be able to hear it whenever you want.
Yes.
Well,
And-
this
and
is
when
incredible.
Tanya and I were
This is
figuring-
not 5 percentage points or 10, they're like jumping 20 percentage points, almost 30 and.
We're,
My question, and it may be a request depending on how you answer my question, is, so when we look, I know when we look at like high school stuff, we see the state average.
right.
When we see the score on ACT and that type of stuff. Do they state average these as who is proficient and above?
Yes, we have all of those, and I think overall district-wide, out of 30 categories, we were 20, and 22 of those, we were above the state
Can you
average.
send, or can you send?
Yes, and part of this presentation that's coming up will have those data.
Okay, never mind.
They're actually, I have a forms that hand out and they're all on there.
Awesome,
Yep.
thank you. Look at me
So-
jumping in.
That's okay, no, that's all right. Okay, Miss Amanda Vance, come on up with Heritage Elementary.
So before I get started, I do want to recognize that I have some of my rock stars in the room. Go ahead.
Could we put them up here where we can see them talk?
The, my,
Oh,
us?
oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Here, let's just move this forward.
You bet.
You know, this
She's
is,
restraining with that.
yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
exciting
Yeah, it is.
information. I mean, this is calls for celebration.
Anyway, I wanted to recognize some of my rock stars that are in the room. I could not very well come here and brag on my school without inviting some of my teachers to come. So if you could, real quick, because I know one of them probably needs to leave because they're celebrating a birthday. But if you could give them a round of applause because they're the ones the boots on the ground. They trust me, which I think. They trust the processes that we have created together. And they come up with new and creative ideas all the time. And I trust them. So when they come up with an idea, it's usually, let's try it. You know, we never know, it might work. So anyway, we'll go ahead and get started.
Introduce.
Oh, you wanna introduce them? That'd be even better. Let's start with Ms. Barnes.
I'm Amanda Barnes, I teach third grade.
I'm Miss Whittington, I teach third grade.
I'm Celine French, I teach fifth grade science and math.
Jamie Jackson, fifth grade reading.
Taylor and Beck, fifth grade math.
Latasha Penny, fifth grade writing and grammar.
So anyway, we'll go ahead and get started. I know they're super excited. So Heritage third grade ELA. Last year, or 2023 anyway, we scored 15% and went up to 59% proficient and advanced in third grade English language arts. Go back to that one for a minute. I knew, and I think I told Tanya this at the end of 2023, I said, I can put my head to bed at night because I know that that is not representation of what we do, because we do so many RTI things. I knew where the kids were. You know, the test is just a blip. It's a one-day blip, but I really think that they scored well this year. So some of the things that we did to get these scores up is I bought for my site a program called Alpha Plus. Alpha Plus is something that I use when I taught fourth grade at a different district. It is, all I did was buy the formative and summative assessments because we did not have anything like that for our district. We did have them for math. Math has been done like that for years, even before I came back to Tahlequah. They had benchmarks, they had unit tests, they had data, but we had nothing like that for reading. So through the PLC process, that is one of the biggest processes that you have that your teachers are to work through, is to come up with common formative assessments. That was a challenge. We just could not find enough time to be able to do that with the teachers. So this past year, I spent the $6,700 and bought Alpha Plus for my third, fourth, and fifth grade for ELA formative and summative assessments. So the formative assessments that come with that are standards based. So they can look at every single standard and know what mastery looks like for third, fourth, and fifth grade. And then the summative assessments, which they're already chomping at the bit to get started on now, are 3 times a year, just like we would do in math. So now it mirrors more, because we were having so much success in math, we needed something like that kind of a structure for reading. Miss Barnes and her sister had used that at Muskogee, so the minute I mentioned Alpha Plus, they were like, yes, we need that. So I actually had some help this year with some people that knew enough about the program to help us get it started. So that was a big thing. Third grade also focuses first. They switched their focus to the power standards, which are the number 2s and the number 4s. Number 2s on standards are the reading and writing process. Number 4s are all the vocabulary standards. All of those equal 50% of the test. So that's where they started this year. They also focused their RTI, their response to intervention, was also remediating those standards first. They also used the Alpha Plus summative assessments, and they used data and made their own pacing guide for interventions. They did this so that they could meet students' needs more efficiently. They were able to move students in and out and get them mastering skills. So those are the things that they did to increase this year, and obviously you can tell it worked tremendously. So little do they know, but my goal is going to be higher than 59% for this year. All right, math. Like I said with math, we have had that structure, the unit assessments and the benchmarking assessments and all of the data, and Cassie does a great job. My teachers reach out to her and she will crunch any kind of data that they want to crunch. And they look at it, they're in her office, they call her and set up meetings with her. But we have had, and if you look back, I do have a paper in there that shows what our scores have been recently or in the past few years. And you can see that the trend for math was much higher than reading. So my goal has always been to get those evened up since I've been there. And we're getting close, we're getting very close. Okay, move on to fourth. All right, this is fourth grade, ELA, and they went from 32% to 57% proficient or advanced. So what they did this year that was a little bit different, so this is the group of students who we have a very high IEP demographic in this particular grade, so the amount of growth that they have here is tremendous. Their RTI time, what they did through response to intervention was that they focused on only doing English language arts. So I have 2 teachers that teach ELA, I have 2 teachers that teach math and teach science. But during RTI time, all of the teachers teach reading. And what they did this year was a little bit different than what they had done in the past. They designed their interventions to reflect one standard and then ensured that the standard was taught using multiple strategies. So each teacher taught in multiple ways the same standard. And they had very good success with that. This group is also our COVID group from first grade. We noticed right off the bat, looking past at their second or their third grade and coming into fourth grade, that one of their biggest challenges was reading stamina. So they did everything that they could to build reading stamina. In other words, kids were in books at any moment that they could be in them. Any kind of downtime, math teachers, ELA teachers made sure that they were reading. They were getting passages and looking at the length of them and then backing off of it before they would even get in there and try. So that was a big help. Fourth grade math is designed, if you look, we've had huge progress in math. And I will say a couple of years ago, we changed how we teach math. We have 2 different math periods. So one of the math periods, one teacher teaches all whole group and teaches the new lessons that are being taught. In the other room, this teacher, which they have to work together very collaboratively, but the other teacher does small group and interventions for that whole hour with them. And we have seen, that group the year before was like in 35% or somewhere around there. And they raised up to 62% passing or proficient. What else did I want to say? I do want to say that structure does not work for everybody. You have to have the right teachers in the right spots and then be willing to collaborate as closely as these 2 collaborate to do that. What we've done is for science in fourth grade, we use Twig Science, but we do the fast track curriculum. Twig Science has 2 different curriculums. They have a fast track and they have a traditional pacing. So we use the fast track pacing. And on Fridays, all 4 teachers teach science. And it's very well orchestrated how they do it, which our science, we'll get to science here in a minute when we get to 5th grade. Let's move to 5th. So 5th grade, 46% last year, and we raised that to 56% this year. Of course, the very top of my thing, I put Alpha Plus. Jamie has already taken scores and crunched them. You want to tell them that little piece of data that you told me a minute ago of how many kids moved levels?
We had 30 out of 76 kids that moved a whole performance level or 2. So maybe from below basic to basic or below basic to proficient. We had quite a few that scored basic in 4th grade and moved to advanced this year.
Yes. So these guys right here, I'm gonna tell you right now, not only do they do the tracking that I asked for them to do, they do little things like that above and beyond and send them to me. So it is really, really nice that we all think the same way, definitely. And then next is math. So I don't know if any of you know about 5th grade math curriculum. 5th grade math curriculum is a booger. That jump from 4th to 5th grade is difficult. I did not teach 5th grade math. I taught 4th grade math, but I cannot imagine. I can remember watching my teachers teaching math or fifth grade math, I'm like, there's no way I would do that. I would say Taylor last year was not last year, year before, extremely frustrated because an hour is not enough time to get the curriculum in that we need to get in. So what we did is we did and modeled after fourth grade. So now they also now have 2 different math periods. Same thing, one teaches the whole group, which is you, right?
Yeah.
And then Celine was new this past year and teaches the small group and interventions. Once again, those ladies have to work together and find time and be dedicated to using data to make that work and to have the growth that they've had. Science, I knew that this was gonna happen. You know, we went from teaching science 1 whole hour every single day to doing the fast track. And then we also have Miss Celine, who was brand new last year, like brand new baby teacher that got to work on that curriculum and design all of the lessons for everybody. And we dropped a little bit, but we're still way above state average. So, and I can imagine that that's only gonna get better now that she's gone through the curriculum, she knows now, what to focus on and what to teach those kids. But for that to drop just a little bit, I was very much expecting for that to happen. But we'll take that for the gains that we're getting in math right now. So before I talk about trend lines, one of the things that we focused on at Heritage is writing. And I have some of my people up here who love writing and English language arts. And I will say, having gone, all of us have been through undergrad, graduate school. What do kids have to know how to do? They have to know how to write. So that has been something that we haven't put a lot of parameters, but we've talked about it for years. Miss Penny actually takes language arts and incorporates that into writing. So she teaches writing and language arts for us, and we've been tracking that, and you can look at that on the back of that page, but we've been tracking it since 2019. 2019, we only had 14% of our children that could either they only break it in 3 categories. It's approaching expectations, at or near, and then achieving expectations. So we've been looking at the at, near, the at, and the achieving expectations category. So that's what we've been tracking. So 2019, we went from 14%, and this year we had 67% of our students that were scoring in math. Very high above the state average for writing. I will say we have to give kudos to Carr for buying Writable.
Yeah, but
Writable is the program that Miss Penny uses, and she said some of the great things about the program is that each writing assignment has its own rubric, which we know is the only way really to score writing. And it gives children specific feedback to them, personal specific feedback on their writing. And then it also provides lessons that are
practices from just writing a conclusion to, but it also, I wanted to add that it also has a practice test for the state test, so the kids know exactly what the state test is gonna look like. It has the articles. I mean, it is set up, it looks just like it, so they are not surprised. I show it to them at the beginning of the year, all year long, and they know exactly what they're gonna look like, what they're gonna see as soon as they open up their state test, so that's no surprises to them at all. I think that has definitely helped them too, that they know what they're gonna be doing and what they're doing.
I've never seen her so excited.
I'm so
when she got the scores back.
They did so awesome.
She was very excited. And I will say, I don't know if I mentioned that Alpha Plus does the same thing. So the Alpha Plus program, when the students take that assessment and that summative assessment, the whole interface of the assessment models the exact state test. So they get to practice with the tools, they get to highlight, they get to, and it looks exactly like it. So they do get some practice, which is another benefit of using that
And
program.
that one's for reading, so
Uh-huh.
for reading and writing, we have
Reading-
programs that look like the state test, but in math and science, we don't.
Well, math does, our old, I don't know what math is gonna look like this year, Cassie's, I mean, they're working on it, and if I know her, and I know how well she likes numbers and data, she's gonna make sure that we find a way to do what we have been doing. So, all of our unit assessments and benchmarks in math, up to this new curriculum, do model the state test. I would say that the breakdown of proficient and advanced, and they do that on each benchmark, exactly matches what we see.
And science does not, the one we use now.
We do not have science, they do have a benchmark in science that
Yeah, I
does
still do
change.
data.
Yeah,
I
there's
still track
data.
it, beginning, middle, and end of the year, and then with your unit test.
I
It just doesn't match exactly because we don't have one, it's not necessarily built into my curriculum. It's kind of like math, it wasn't built
I was
in.
just questioning the looks like, because when you think of any other standardized test you take, your GED, ACT, when you you can go buy, the thing, you practice that test, and it looks exactly like the real test you take. The questions are the same length, they're laid out the same way, and so if we have, in some areas, if we have that ability and others we don't, and this may be different from site to site, is that?
I just
Using-
bit the bullet and bought it last year because I knew that we needed it,
Did you buy it out
and
of
then I
your
was,
school budget,
Yeah.
your, just your?
yeah.
Tell them who's buying it this year though, and we all have it.
You bought it. I bugged them today, so hopefully they have it rostered today, because my teachers are dying to give it before instruction. So, but yes, so we will all be the same this year. We'll all have the same, and I think they're gonna have training, yes.
And I want to say something just in general as a former teacher, and I was always frustrated by this argument about teaching to the test. And my argument back was, we're teaching the skills and knowledge necessary to take the test. Test format, and these are skills that are necessary to go to the next level, so you can handle the new content information that you're going, subject information you're going to be getting. It's just nice though to be familiar with test format. So as a test taker, because kids are nervous, most of them, when they're sitting down to take a test, they know how important this is. And if the format is the same and you're not having to work through the format while at the same time trying to reflect the knowledge that you have, that it just makes it work much better. So we're teaching skills and content. And that's what we want students to have so they can go on to the next level. For test format, I think that's what people confuse with teaching to the test.
Absolutely.
And if we're not teaching the information and the skills that kids are going to see on a test, then, we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
We're just babysitting if we don't make sure we take care of, that they get the information that they need.
And I will say that, with all the data and all the tracking that we do, we know where our kids are. And any of you that think that, late start Fridays or these new PD days that we have, guys, come and watch us. Come and watch and see how much analysis it takes to make sure that every single student gets what they need. A lot of number crunching and a lot of student observations have to take place in order for achievement to happen. And that's what these ladies have to do and teach all their children in their class, yeah. So it's a lot. A couple of things I did put on here that, of course, we have challenges across the district and Heritage is the same as anybody else. So some of our big challenges that we have are that 72% of our students in grades 3 through 5 are in 2 different priority groups for testing, which are the most challenging priority groups. That is economically disadvantaged and our IEP group. So, and I can't imagine that my school looks any different than anyone else's. Another thing that I know Tanya is working on this year is chronic absenteeism. I'm sad to say that our chronic absenteeism went up from the year before. 2023, it was 17%, last year it was 21% of our students that were there full year. I did not count the students that came in and out, but our full year academic students. And of course, the highest percentages of those chronic absentees happen in kindergarten, first and second. I think sometimes parents think when their baby wants to stay home that it's okay for them to stay home. We really would like for them to be at school every day possible. I know Katie's got some things up her sleeve to get that out to parents, and I appreciate that. One of the biggest mindsets that we had to change at Heritage Elementary is the mindset of, this is my class, these are my students. And we have changed that atmosphere to, these are our students. So when your child comes there, I don't care whose class they're in, they're not gonna get just one teacher, they're gonna get 4. And they're gonna get the best of every 4 of those teachers. And that took us a little bit to get there, and we are there 100%. And I am just pleased. I don't look at individual data, I look at group data. And that's how we move students. It is by, they're all of ours, aren't they? So I very much appreciate that. We do have a new data tracker system that we implemented last year, and I'm tracking our response to intervention data. So this past year, we didn't start it until
It was after Christmas.
it was after Christmas, wasn't it? So we don't, and some of my teachers were better than others at putting it in, but the data that I did get from it was that from kindergarten through 5th grade, we had an average of 51% mastery in any skill, in all skills that we remediated. This year, we have broken the data up so that I can see what it looks like in their RTI in their classroom and in literacy lab. I will actually know what the numbers say so that we can adjust and make changes that make sense to that. Big data tracker, it's a good one though. This lady right here and her sister created it, and I very much appreciate it. I have everything in one spot. I've got everything I can click on. I can see absolutely everything, and I don't have to go to multiple places to do it. I do want to say 2 more things, and I'm going to be done. I'm trying to talk fast because Carr said I had 7 minutes. I didn't know if I could do it or not. Am I good?
You've only been at 23, right? 25. See how well she listens to me. It's good stuff. Keep on going, girl.
Here's one thing that he said, is that it takes all of us at our school. And it does. Kindergarten all the way through 5th need to be proud of the test scores that we have. So a couple pieces of data that include my kindergarten and the whole entire school are, and it's on your sheet, one of your sheets anyway. One of my goals this year was that 80% of our students would have growth equal to 1 year. And I can proudly say, no. Yes, I can proudly say that we had 78% of all of our students, that's everybody, IEP, it doesn't matter, everybody in the building, we had 78% of those students maintain a score equal to a year's worth of growth. In addition to that, there's 30 different groups of students that we look at, 20 of them had more than 1 year's of growth on iStation. So we're very, very proud of that. Another piece that I had that includes the whole school was that we tracked intervention data, and then we also used the iStation rate of improvement report. My goal was that 80% of our students would maintain a moderate to high rate of improvement. We actually had 84% of our students maintain a moderate rate of improvement in ELA. So super, super proud of My building, we are looking for that A this year. We've had Bs the last couple years and, we want an A in something. That's all I'm saying, an A in something. You may get an F in attendance, but if we can get an A in something, I'd be happy. The last page of your document is my plan for the year. So that's my reading plan. I feel like anything that's worth doing, we do right and we plan for and are intentional for. So that is my ELA plan. Probably looks like gibberish to you, but they get it and they were ready for it, weren't you? So thank you for your time. Do you have any questions? Hope not. Just because I've been all over. Yeah. You're welcome.
You know, I didn't get much expectations when I told them they were gonna present the test scores. And you know, Amanda's our data coordinator. I mean, she brings it to there, so, she gives you lots and lots of information, just like she does all. And the next two, all three of the principal in just such a different way. And they all
Just making excuses for us not having a presentation.
I'm gonna say Amanda's a former student of mine.
Good job. You trained her right.
One of those teachers, I was her teacher twice, pre-K and second grade.
Let's arm wrestle.
Come on now, so get on up here, Miss Reed.
Well, luckily Amanda took all my time, so I'm gonna be up here for 1 minute. No, I know Amanda and I worked with her for a year and I know that she is completely data driven and that's helped me a little bit, but we're not quite where her school is, but we're on the way. We're working that way, so we wanna get started. Our third grade ELA in 2023 was 25% and it went up to 43%. I'm gonna go through the data and then we'll talk about what we did, okay?
That's great.
Third grade math went from 40 to 39%, and I agree with Amanda. I think that we see a more steady percentage in our math than we have our ELA, so that's why I think that is like that. Fourth grade ELA went from 14% to 48%.
That's huge.
Fourth grade math went from 36% to 52%. Fifth grade ELA, 19% to 35%. And fifth grade math went from 17 to 33%. Our fifth grade science dropped just a little bit, from 40% to 38%. And the one thing that I want to say is that when I stepped into this position, I stepped into it with over half of my staff with having less than 5 years of experience, and that's continued. And so we have a lot of new teachers that we need to mentor. We've had a lot of help from our district. And one of the things I noticed was that we needed to really hone in on our teaching practices. And so we started implementing great expectations again at our site. We used to be a model school. And the thing that helped with is they have 17 practices, and they are just good teaching practices. And so having that focus last year, I think, has helped us tremendously. We were grateful in that we had help paying for 6 coaching days with Keita Asbill that worked with our teachers every time she came. This year, we're gonna do 8 coaching days. And so I think this is gonna continue to help us keep focusing on those good practices. And I think that's one thing that has really helped us. Obviously, having reading curriculum has really helped in our site, and the first year was rough and we're getting going. You know, it's just when you have a new curriculum, you're just learning it. One thing that my staff had not been doing very consistently when I started was having PLCs, and so we implemented that back in the PLC process. And in doing that, we've started the SMART goals. So our district has goals, I do my SMART goals, and then each grade level has SMART goals as well, or subjects. And so they come up with the strategies that they're gonna use, and they're getting better. They wrote them the first year. Last year, they were much better. I can say that our K through 2 all met their goals. 3 through 5, I think, is still working out what to look at. when setting their goals. Another thing that I implemented this last year was monthly data meetings, and so where our teachers are meeting on a weekly basis looking at data, I made sure that I sat down with my grade levels once a month, and we looked at individual students. They talked every student out with me. We looked at what intervention they had, whether they were going to our EL teacher, whether they were going to literacy lab, whether they were getting RTI, and we made sure that we had all of those interventions in place for the students that needed it. The other thing was the RTI. That was something that we had not been doing. And they took it on and they're all doing it. We did about a half of a year last year. We're starting right off the bat. They're ready to look at data and get going this year. And all the grade levels looked at different things. So K through 2, they looked a lot at the Literacy First testing that we do. And then 3 through 5 utilized their state testing data. They utilized iStation as well. And I know this year, our district has been kind enough to add Alpha Plus, and so we're gonna be able to utilize that too. We're excited about that.
RTI, I heard Amanda mention. What is
Response to intervention, and so
Okay,
it's just another tiered level of intervention for our
Okay.
students, yes. The other thing that we did was testing incentives, and we know that that helps. We had testing incentives for their attendance, for time on test. So we looked at what an average time would be for them to use when answering and completing a test. And we had we had incentives for those. And so the kids were really excited about that. We know that they'll do about anything for incentives. And so this year coming up, one of the things, we're making a few changes. Obviously, we're gonna have a new math curriculum, and we're excited about that. We're gonna continue the implementation of Great Expectations, like I said, but increase the coaching days. And then also, we're gonna get to add Alpha Plus, and we're excited to learn about that. And then the other 2 changes that I made in talking to my staff, it's funny because Amanda has gone a completely different direction than I have with her 4th and 5th grade. But like she said, I think it depends on the staff that you have in place and the needs that they have and the direction that they want to go, and you have to follow that. And they made improvements, and the one thing that 4th and 5th grade all wanted was more time with their kids. And we know that relationships are the key. And they felt like more time with their kids would help with that. And so this year we have moved our 4th grade to self-contained, where they will keep their kids all day. And then our 5th grade has moved to pods. And so they will have 2 teachers, one that will teach math and science and one that will teach ELA and social studies. And so we're hopeful. We're hopeful that that will take us in a good direction and we can see some improvements. But I'm pleased with the progress that my staff has made. Our student achievement has gone up, and we're headed in the right direction, I feel like, so. Yeah. Any questions?
I have a lot to say. She does, she's fantastic.
In our next school is Cherokee. We kind of do a little reverse order. We always start out, Marissa gets to start out first on everything we do, alphabetical order, so we backed it up. And so next we have, and there's Amy, didn't see, yes, Amy. And so I said all of our assistants were here. So the assistants play, and that's one role that I think from a leadership standpoint that we really tried to get them involved in our initiative 1 is all of our assistant principals, and we realized the time that we don't really get to spend with them. So I've made a pledge that I'm trying to involve the assistant principals more in any time that we visit with the principals, that there's a time that I get to try to visit with them. And I really like to visit with Amy because she's not in that little closet anymore at Cherokee. She's got a brand new office.
I have a closet. Yeah, I have a closet. And I really wanted this podium to be back there, sir, because today kindergarten lunch got a little out of hand. I really messed it in. I was like, oh my gosh, I kept me walking up there, but here I am. So, yes, I have a big achievement for Cherokee. So we are very excited about these scores. In 2023, we were at 19%, and this year we were at 48%. That's a pretty big jump, guys. And then 3rd grade, math is about the same. And we've stayed about the same for the last few years. We're very excited about the new math curriculum and helping with that. really, propels us in the right direction, with math all across the board. Fourth grade, 17% last year, 45% this year. But last year's third grade kiddos were 17%. And those kids that were 17% in third grade now are 45% in fourth grade. So, I like to compare those numbers. Cause that's
huge.
huge. That's huge. Yeah. And so fourth grade math there, we went up a little bit. Fifth grade ELA, so that, 17 to 38. But when these babies were in third grade, they were 5%. So they were 5% in third grade. They were 17 or 19% in fourth grade, and they are 38% in fifth grade. One of the things, we have a very, very high IEP population in fifth grade. And one of the things that we did this year, and I think it made a huge difference for our kiddos, is instead of pulling that group of kiddos for a small group instruction, we pushed in our special ed teacher with our ELA fifth grade teacher. It empowered those kids. The amount of growth that those kiddos had, every single one of those kids, according to our ISIP, our iStation data, made a year or more's worth of growth. Every IEP student in fifth grade ELA made a year or more growth. And I totally believe it's because of the way we push those babies in. And so we were very excited about that and plan to do that this year, or doing it this year in our fourth grade and fifth grade class. And then fifth grade math went up as well, they're pretty good there. And then science went up as well, so we're pretty excited about that. Very similar to what Greenwood said and some of the things that Amanda said, we use ISIP data for ELA. That is the, our students take a test every month, and then it prescribes lessons to them for them to use throughout the week. And it gives, students that are low performing have to take, or have to spend a little bit more time on lessons than students that aren't. 80% of our student population scored, either had a year or more growth. We have sat and we have dug and dug and dug, and every year after the school ends, we have another meeting with our ISIP rep, our iStation rep. And she just gives us a little bit more information. It's like she only gives us what we can handle, and she gives us a little bit more information and another tool to use. And so we have this year gone through and mapped out every child, their ISIP score every month, and saw in each classroom which kiddos scored a year, which scored more than a year, and which kiddos did not score a year. And so teachers are looking at that data as an individual and as a whole grade level. And so this year is going to change the way that we attack that data from the get-go. So when we see that a child, say, has scored a 42, and then in September, and if they score a 35 in October, and maybe a 22 in November, then what will stop? Like, what's going on? We've got to attack that now. We'll attack it at month 2, but we've got to figure out what's going on. We cannot wait any longer. We've got to figure out why a kid is not progressing. Any student that did not make a year's worth of growth this year, last year, we can go in and see, were they absent a lot? Did they time out a lot? Did, what was causing them not to make their growth? And sometimes it was they didn't do enough lessons. And so we are going to definitely track that better, because we want 90% of our students to make a year's worth, a year's growth or more. So that's one of the things that Amy's been tackling, and we just dug and dug and dug, and we're already giving it to our teachers, and they're excited. And we also looked at our IEP data, and there were out of that 80%, that gave us 76 kids that did not score a year's worth of growth. Only 11 of those babies were on an IEP. So it wasn't just an IEP child that did not, make that growth. It was some of our kiddos that have not been identified. And so we're really going to dig into those babies, and those are gonna be some of the first ones that we serve, with Laura Cosby, our literacy coach, and in our literacy lab. You know, just like Rhonda said, and Andy said, you know, since we did not have, Alpha Plus, we really looked at our iStation data and dug into which skill kids were missing, and then our second, third, and fourth grade teams, did RTI and taught those specific lessons that the program provided for us. So it was like they were actually getting something totally different than they were getting in their literacy lab, and something totally different than they were getting in the classroom. And so that's a true intervention, when something was completely different. And we plan on doing that again this year. But I think most of all, we plan on catching it quicker, because we know exactly what to look for, if that makes sense. But we're super excited about our data, and we only expect it to go up from there.
This is why that
All right, I have one more request for information. So from Heritage, we got the percent of students economically disadvantaged and the percent on an IED. Can we get that for the audience?
Okay. And I have the other report that wasn't in there about the state averages.
Well, we got, that's, the one shows it for all of them.
Okay, good up in there.
We don't need that, actually.
Okay, good. Well, just to wrap that all up, you know, I'm just very proud of all of our teachers and all of our students and all of the principals and the great job that they do, and our assistant principals. I couldn't thank them enough for the hard work, because they put the blood, sweat, and the tears into those buildings. And like I say, it all looks a little different, but it all comes back to academic achievement. And they all get there a little bit different, but they all get there. And we're very pleased with, Amanda's been presenting the Alpha Plus to us since Ms. Jones has brought in the data meetings. And Rhonda and Marissa's like, we want that too, and then Amanda's like, good, now he'll pay for all of it. So we have that, and we have training set up the week after Labor Day. Alpha Plus is coming to each site to train each grade level for an hour and a half. So because Heritage did all that with Alpha Plus, with just going on what teachers that had used it before. So now we'll get proper training for that. You've heard them all talk about iStation. We're very committed to iStation. We're believers. We think that it's going to show us a score that the kids are going to do on the state test. And, you know, we thought we were going to do pretty good, but we were just scared about what was going to happen. And so we've paid for another 3 days of training for iStation to come in. They can meet with the principals, and so our teachers can ask questions there. So we're pleased about that. And then one final bit of information is, you know, new on our accreditation. We have to have we have to have 50% of our students pass the test, or we could get a dean on accreditation. You've heard our state superintendent talk about that. And that's basic. You can do basic, proficient, and advanced. And we have to have 50% of our students pass. And at Telequal, 72% of our students met his requirements. So we will not do that. So, thank you all very, very much, and we appreciate your support and always supporting any of our crazy, wild ideals that we present to you. So, thank you all very much. I know that was a little lengthy, but it was important. It was important.
Okay, superintendent's report, you have 2 minutes.
Woo, 2 minutes.
I knew Amanda would take a little bit longer to talk, because I think she and I are related. She was a Jones, originally, and I am by marriage, so we have a lot to share, and we like to do that. And, on what we just presented, I think like the last 3 years in elementary, we've had a new reading curriculum. We've implemented iStation. We streamlined tech programs, because we had a million different things that some people used, some people didn't, and then we tried to choose what they really thought was necessary. A new math curriculum this year, and then each of them have put I will say a relationship, a people building program in. Marissa's done a lot with conscious discipline, and then, you know, Amanda with Ron Clark, and with Rhonda and Greenwood with GE. And so I think all of those things together are making such an enormous change, and I am so very proud of you guys. And Carr and I did, we sat there, we both cried, you know, and he was, like he said, I was shaking, I can't even write, I can't even do the math, and it was so exciting, you know, and I hope that you guys are just proud of what we are accomplishing here, so. TPS of, my 2 minutes start now. And I'm not gonna make it, cause it's big, but, 516 employees, 3,734 kids, enrolled right now, which is up about 100. But as of Friday, only 3,563 have actually, sat in a seat, you know, to quote Paul Hurst used to say, when we see the white of their eyes. So we've seen the white of their eyes of 3,563 children, as of Friday. Our enrollment numbers are up, our pre-K numbers, we've rebounded back another class this year. So we have 24 little bouncing babies, in that hallway right now than we did last year. We have, a few transfer spots available right now, none at TMS and THS, and just a few in the elementary levels, and as always, those are available on our website. Little bit of Bond, Greenwood Classroom Edition, the interior work is in progress. We're on track to hopefully have it finished by the end of September. So I'm thinking a move-in date of fall break, that's what we've been saying, is that you have to wait for like a certificate of occupancy and all those good things, but it's looking very good. So that's really exciting. High school restroom edition is finished, Cherokee office remodels, TMS office remodel, Greenwood exterior paint looks really good. I heard one of you say that you have to call it Gregwood. Someone said that in the
Our
party.
kids said beige wood, because they think it's beige.
Beige, I think it's beige wood, yeah. Someone said that on a tour the other day. Some HVAC repairs are complete, as you heard this evening, we have some others that we're gonna have to work on. The Greenwood white wing windows, those are ordered, we just don't have them in yet. T-Max steps, we have a pretty good quote, we'll demo the left side, take them out, see what the issue is, why there's been some sinking, and then we will get bids to replace them. That will be a large expense, and so we're really holding off on anything else bond-wise until we see what that comes up with.
And that is usable, we just have to use the ring on the side,
Yes, so when you're staring at the T-Mac, the left-hand side, there's a little bit of, they're sinking just a bit, well, I don't even say sinking, they're pulling apart at the top. The steps really haven't moved, but there's enough of a gap that we had them examined, and they do need to be repaired. So we're going to have to take that side down, see what the issue is underneath, and then rebuild them. But the side with the wheelchair accessible ramp and the steps that go up the, what is that, west side? Yeah, will be accessible for, thank goodness we can use half of it and take half of it down at the same time. Couple things about legislation in our State Department. I just wanted to speak about this in front of everybody because I know there's been some questions given to some of you. Release time instruction was something that was passed in our state this spring. And on June 27th, we adopted a new board policy to meet the requirements of this House Bill 1425. The new law allows students to be absent for up to 3 periods a week for release time religious instruction off school grounds. The school's primary role in this is to work with the family or religious entity to ensure that the time out meets the requirements for students not to be counted absent. Lifewise Academy has been in contact with us, and they are planning with local community members to start that program in this area. They are a national, non-denominational, Bible-based release time religious instruction program. They are in the process of hiring a full-time director for this area, and I believe their intention is to offer a program at the middle school level starting in the 2nd semester. They are still in the beginning stages of this process, however. I mention this because I know some of you are getting questions about this. There's been some posts on Facebook with this company, and I just want to be clear. This is off campus, it is not a part of the TPS curriculum, and it is not supervised by our employees. If families choose to participate in this or other programs that meet the criteria, we'll work with them to make sure we can get them out of the elective classes they need to be. But the board only votes to approve curriculum that would be offered at the high school level because the law also allows that to be used for credit. So I just wanted to clarify that and see if you guys had any questions about that. I said there have been quite a few social media posts. Sometimes they said board approved. I think they mean they come and talk to us, not necessarily board approved. More approved, the conversation has happened in this room, but it is a state law, and the only thing that we really control is like what they can be removed from. A student can't miss a content core class. And the LifeWise program, their intention is to pull a kid one time a week and not 3, which we were excited about. But we will do everything we can to work with people that come to take advantage of this law. But I did want to just be clear that, it's not a TPS program, it's not on grounds, and it is not our curriculum. Something else going on in our state, I want to talk a little bit about some of the memos that have been given to us from the State Department. TPS is committed to provide all students with a quality education, and to Tiger's Roar, which is removing obstacles and achieving results. That's our mission and our vision for Tahlequah. The past few months, most of the conversations about school in the state have been divided, unpleasant, and somewhat warlike. To be honest, it's making all of our jobs stressful and unenjoyable at times. And most importantly, it is taking the focus off of teaching students, which is why we are here. As a public school district, it is imperative that we remain neutral and objective in all our curriculum and teaching practices. We are respectful of all the cultures, religions, and belief systems in our school community, including everyone in this room and yours, and the teachers that teach here. We have always followed the state standards, and we will continue to do so with our board-adopted and state-approved curriculum. Those standards include the importance of religion in historical and cultural contexts. We have not and cannot teach religious doctrine or theology. We believe that's up to the family and the church of a family's choice. The documents that have been referenced in the memos that are supposed to be shared with all of our employees have been placed in a shared folder that all of our employees have access to. Our intention, my intention, is not to be disrespectful to our state leadership, but we also don't want to be disrespectful to those that we serve. I respectfully ask that you, ladies, help me monitor the situation and be prepared to act if this begins to affect our accreditation status. Questions or comments about that?
I mean, disappointing that we hear this hour of what is real and good and what we're supposed to do. And then we hear, not only from you, we see in the community that this is not what anyone's talking. I hope the newspaper headline is the increase in reading scores in Cherokee Elementary by 100%. But what we see, what all of us see, what we talk to our neighbors about, what comes up is this other stuff that's going on that's taking away from, and it's just really, really disappointing. And we have just shown what, when we let principals lead and teachers teach, what they can do. And we are taking away from them by focusing on things that, under the Constitution says shouldn't be part of a public education system. And it's, again, very, very proud of some of what we heard today, but knowing that you and all of our staff have to field questions about this, have to worry about what they can and can't say about it. It's just disappointing, and regardless of how people feel about it, you know, we support what Tahlequah Public Schools is doing to increase learning for students, to feed students, to bus students, and you know, that is where our focus is and should be.
We are working hard to keep the main thing the main thing. But thank you for that. I want us to be prepared for what possibly can come, and if there is anything that would possibly be a red mark on our accreditation status, then I might come and ask for there to be some type of public vote to support that and to prepare us for that. So I will keep you updated as we know.
Certainly support your leadership, the
Thank you.
direction.
Other good things, our opening ceremony was held on Friday, August 9th. We would like to thank the following groups and businesses for making this happen. The Tahlequah Area Chamber of Commerce with the help of many local businesses. The presenting sponsor this year was Express RV Park, and the education spotlight was Express Stop. Thank you to the gold sponsors, Northeastern Health System, silver PC Landing Zone, McDonald's, Armstrong Bank, and NSU. Bronze sponsors were Bank First, August Press Coffee. The game sponsor was the local bank. I did not win. It was the newlywed game. I tried really hard. 27 years, we still didn't get all the questions right. The Geigers won, yes. And we also had about 40 other businesses that helped with door prizes and swag bag gifts. It was absolutely super cool. They spoil us rotten, and it's amazing. Also on that day, the Tahlequah Public School Foundation and their local sponsors once again fed about 500 of us at their food truck frenzy. Thank you to Statewide Cleaning and American Fidelity. Also local businesses, Dr. Webb, DDS, Keys Eye Care, Tahlequah Family Vision, Renewing Hope Counseling, Lowry's Furniture, Tahlequah Lumber, Two Sisters Financial, East Davis Investments, Cheer It Up, and many other continual supporters of the foundation. We were able to enjoy Roxy's Barbecue and Delaney's in the Dog Park, so that was a good start to the year. We had open house on Monday the 12th, and it was a huge success. Sequoia and Greenwood both had 97% of their families show up for open house. Cherokee had 92% of their families attend. Tahlequah Middle School. They might have. Parking lots were crazy. TMS had 91% of their students attend. THS 48%, and that's high school. And I don't think there used to be anybody at open house or Conference night, so that's huge.
I'm so shocked. High school.
Yes.
Many people.
Central had 70% of their virtual students come for the parent meeting, and 15% of the alt-ed students. And hey, I think that's something to celebrate.
Yes.
You fight every day just to get them there on a regular day, much less something else. So, that was a really successful evening, I think, for everybody. And the first 2 days last week, amazing. I just want to say it's like amazing how it's like we just left in May, and I don't know what happened to summer this year. It just flew by. But kids, families came back. It's like they've been gone for a weekend. You could even go into a classroom full of 4-year-olds, and they were already at their little tables or little stations doing what they were supposed to, and they just got right in there and got to work. So
The atmosphere at all schools, everyone seemed happy to be there.
they really were. They really are, I think, happy to be there, and it shows.
We got to go pray for all the schools.
We appreciate it.
Enjoy.
Our new child nutrition team is working. It's good. We got kinks. I mean, nothing is perfect. We started with a new company a few weeks before school started. They had to get the entire everything traded. They had to hire staff. They had to change kitchens. They had to change signage. And we've had a few growing pains, but the food has been good. You're one of our favorite kids that's come to do the flag salute, Bryson. I walk into the high school and he's like, Jones, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10 out of 10. So I can't do much better than 10 out of 10. So we're getting lots of reports like that. Natalie got a great email from a parent the other day that said, my kid's never eaten here in 11 years, and like, thank you, praise everybody that they're eating at school and it's good and it's free. So we're working all the staffing out. Thank you so much. All kinds of people have been just going and helping. They aren't supposed to, and it takes a village, and right now we're doing it. So we're very proud of that. We have also, I want to point out that they're serving 30% more meals every day since school started. And we needed that to happen for CEP. So not only is it new and new staff and new everything, but they're serving hundreds more children than they ever have. So kudos to the school for getting your kids in at breakfast and lunch, and thank you parents for them sending them to eat with us. It's gonna be a great partnership, we know. We have a few of us going to OSSBA this week. I can send you the information for that. It's always a great learning experience, so we're looking forward to that. And just on the Ag Barn, that project, should be seeing a lot of movement in the next few weeks. They've done some surveys, we've done all I think the gentleman said the non-sexy work, the back work that no one sees. And so hopefully we will be breaking ground in a few months on that, and then we'll get that as quick as possible as Ag students continue to find me in Walmart or the hallway, and I've been so impressed. They will just come find it and say, I just want to thank you so much that you are doing this program. One little girl said, I've been a military family and I've never got to stay some before, and now I get to stay one place, and I'm gonna get to have an animal because you guys are doing this. And so, again, kudos to Wallace. I throw something out to him and I say, hey, give me $100,000, we'll build a barn. And he's like, give me 2 weeks. And he did it, so.
What's the timeline, how long to complete that, do we?
We hope by February it will be ready.
Because shows start, that's,
in a perfect world, we would have had a barn raising and it'd been done in like July, but it doesn't work like that when you build something with public school dollars. It's a lot more complicated, so that is my report for the evening.
Thank you very much. Okay. Back to the more mundane. Item I, discussion and vote to approve the following surplus. And it's 1 through 5.
To approve items I 1 through 5.
Second. Any discussion? Ms. Neiman?
Aye.
Dr. Kaufman?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford? Aye. And I. Item J, vote to approve the revision of the following policies, 1 through 8.
Second.
Any discussion?
Most of these are just revisions that are required by a change in law or state procedures. One new policy on the glucose monitoring 6070, that was item 8, that's actually a new policy there will be probably a revision of that. We don't have the example policy from OSSBA yet. They didn't have it ready, but we wanted to have something out, and it just covers that if we have a child that is using, or a teacher that is using the monitoring on their phone for a child, it kind of helps them with the liability piece of that. So we will at some point have a revision of that, but we needed to get something in policy. Sick leave bank on 3 was something in our negotiated agreement where employees could give more than the 3 days they used to be able to give. I think they can give 5 now on policy.
Any more discussion? Ms. Neiman?
Aye.
Dr. Kaufman?
Aye.
Mrs. Crawford? Aye. And I. Okay, discussion vote to approve the acceptance of settlement funds from Francois Group, APLC, for the Jewel School District vaping lawsuit. Can I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Any discussion? Just a
Another
leftover.
small
Yes.
piece, a few $1,000s.
But we'll take it. We'll take it. Ms. Nemo. Aye. Dr. Coffin.
Aye.
Ms. Crawford. And aye. Item L, business items, consent docket vote to approve the following. This is L1, A through AR, and then 2 trips out of state, A through R. And
Second.
and Dr. Kaufman, or, okay. Any discussion? Steve?
Aye.
Dr. Kaufman,
I'm gonna abstain because Great Expectations is on one of these line items.
Ms. Crawford, aye, and I. Item M, discussion and vote to approve the following meal prices for the 2024-25 school year. Motion? Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? We do this yearly.
Yes.
These are for adults, because all our kids get
Free.
Yes, or a second meal.
A second, okay. Ms. Nemo? Aye. Dr. Fox?
Aye.
Ms. Walker? And aye. Item N, vote to approve the additions to the list of permitted communication platforms for Tahlequah Public Schools. Do I have a motion? Any discussion?
We had to add one of the other programs that we use, Edgenuities, that we added this time. And next year we will move to a more streamlined process where we use one. But there still will always be multiple, because we'll have to list like Edgenuity, we'd have to use, list Google Classroom, we'd have to list Syllogist / Wingage, all those programs that we use for student information systems or curriculum would have to be listed. But as far as like talking, where we use, where they use WhatsApp, where they use all those different apps, that will be one streamlined app next year that can be district tracked.
And this is briefly because state law now requires that teachers only communicate with students via approved, school board approved communication applications.
Yes.
On which parents are also included.
They do, a parent does not have to be included on the approved app.
Okay.
But if they were to text a child, a parent has to be on the text, or it would be against the policy.
Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
Dr. Coffman?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford? And aye. Discussion and vote to approve the schedule of encumbrances. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford? Aye. Item E, vote to ratify the negotiated agreement with TESPA for the 2024-25 school year. Do I have a motion? I'll make that motion. Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
Dr. Coffman?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford? And aye. Vote to ratify the negotiated agreement with TPA for the 2024-25 school year. I have a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
Dr. Coffman?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford? And aye. Item R, vote to approve and confer agreement for the administrative supervisory personnel for the 2024-25 school year. Motion? I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
Dr. Coffman?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford? And aye. S, discussion and vote to approve the statutory waiver deregulation application for library media specialist at Heritage Elementary for the 2024-25 school year.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Newman.
Aye.
Dr. Cox.
Aye.
Ms. Crawford. Aye. Motion to approve or not, should be approved. Motion to approve following personnel items. And we have, 1 job transfers, 2 employment, 3 resignations. It goes through 5, but under item 2, employment, or 6, yes. On item 2, and I think this is wrong. I'm make a motion, make the motion, and we need to read the names.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve T 1 through 6 with the following. Employment, Lindsay Nuts, Sequoia pre-K teacher, Nikita Arnell Stipes, Sequoia pre-K para. This list is long, guys, sorry. Jiminy Smith, Sequoia care plan para, Joni Collins, Cherokee paraprofessional, Michaela Corn, Cherokee part-time sub, para sub, Tyra Trimble, Greenwood part-time para sub, Madeline Briggs, Greenwood special ed para, Ariel Adair, Greenwood kindergarten teacher, Colton Carter, Greenwood 5th grade teacher, Sarah DeMoss, Greenwood special care para, Addison Vance, Heritage part-time para sub, Sarah Wade, Heritage librarian, Justin Shackelford, TMS ISD paraprofessional, Jessica Kate Calcode, TMS part-time para sub, Mariah Larson, TMS part-time para sub, Kylie Taylor Teague, TMS English teacher, Lindsay Dreadfulwater, TMS music para, Allie Williams, TMS library para, Stephanie Wisdom, TMS RN nurse, Brian Gaylor, THS part-time para sub, August Leach, THS part-time para sub, and Thomas Lacombe, THS half-time aviation teacher.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Nemo.
Aye.
Dr. Hoffman.
Aye.
Mrs. Crawford. And aye. Item U is new business, and we do have new business. A motion and vote to approve personnel item 1. Discussion and vote to approve THS instructor Devin Murray as an adjunct instructor for 4 periods in U.S. history and Oklahoma history, government, economics, teaching Oklahoma and U.S. government during the 2024-25 school year. I have a motion.
I make a motion.
Any discussion? Ms. Newman.
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Crawford. And aye. And with that, we are adjourned.
Thanks, Jesus.